This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. MARKWAYNE MULLIN, welcome back to the show. I just heard you ask your assistant for a sweet tea. Now, is that going to be like...
I did not say sweet tea.
No, it sounded... You said tea, but everybody knows what you mean. Nobody in Oklahoma drinks like Earl Grey. Come on now.
So you're gonna really make fun of me. Actually, going to be a hot tea with honey in it because my throat's killing me.
Hey, I'm not going to give you the slightest bit of crap because before all my surgeries and post-surgery and all that, like it was throat coat tea with lemon and honey, and I basically lived on that. That was basically all we could do.
So make fun of me then, huh?
I'm not doing it. I'm not going to make fun of you, all right? I hope you get...
And guess what? When I drink it, I'm going to stick my pinky out when I drink it too.
I hope you do. And I also hope it's a little bit sweet so we can call it a sweet hot tea just for you. But glad we had a nice little fun talk to this. But I didn't want to move off of this because I didn't think that this story got enough play. But former Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe passed away this week. And, you know, you technically took over his seat. And, you know, he represented this great state of Oklahoma for over 30 years in the United States Senate. I do want you to kind of give me your thoughts on Jim and his legacy, but also, I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal headline on him, but it was former U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe, climate change denier, dies at the age of whatever. And so, like, I saw that, I was like, it's not that hard to avoid being a douchebag. And so I guess the entire committee that came together and came up with that headline and all the editors over at the Wall Street Journal, they're just all gigantic bags of douche. And so if you want to make a comment about that, you can, but let's just talk about Jim a little bit.
Yeah, so for CNN did the same headline, New York Times did the same headline, Wall Street Journal did the same headline, and I'm just like, come on, guys, give me a break. And if you actually listen to Senator Inhofe, he wasn't a climate denier. He was a practical guy that said, explain to me when the climate started warming and when it didn't. And I'm paraphrasing his words. He's like, okay, we want to talk about science, and let's talk about science. Let's talk about the Ice Age. Let's talk about before humans, were actually here with the dinosaurs, something happened there. Our climate has always been changing. Why do we have climate cycles? Now, could we do better about cleaning the water? And this is what he would say stuff like this. Could we do better about cleaning the water? Could we do better about cleaning the trash? Yes, but when we start actually talking about climate change, how long have we actually been studying the climate? Because if archaeologists will go through, and I heard him say this, they'll go through dirt piles and they'll see different cycles in dry seasons. They'll see different cycles of extreme wet seasons. They'll have different cycles of extremely cold seasons. And you guys rusher those back to 5 billion years. But yet we're comparing what? Because a lot of records we had was set when we first started keeping records in the 20s and in the 30s. And there's a reason why we break records and some records aren't. And so for them to say a climate denier, he was practical on asking the questions. And you go, even in his death, the guy's retired. These people still go after him because you have some editor and some reporter that wants to be cute, and it makes you want to puke. Now, Jim and I, we didn't agree on a lot of issues. I mean, there was a lot of issues him and I took differences in, but I always had a tremendous amount of respect for him. And I meant it, yesterday when I talked on the floor, when I said I looked at him as a grandfather, not because of his age, because of the affection I had towards the guy. And quite frank, he was, sometimes he'd get really ticked at me because if you didn't agree with Jim, he would let you know why he's right. But at the end of the day, he just went on with it. But he still let you know why he was right. And you was never going to convince him you're right. If Jim was dug on the issue, he was just dug in. But he was also a guy that loved the Lord. There was zero question about that. He was a guy that loved Kay, his wife, dearly, and he loved his family. And he served for 60 years. And guess what? He didn't lose his faith. He didn't lose his wife, and he didn't lose his family. I mean, that says a lot for someone in politics because it's very common in politics that people get up here and they lose their wife and they lose their family and they start thinking this is reality, and that was never his reality. And I think that's quite a testament to anybody.
Well, I think he had a very long and illustrious career, and I got the opportunity to vote for him a couple of times since turning the age of 18. And looky there, you've got, not only do you have tea, Markwayne Mulllin, not only is it piping hot, because I think I just saw you burn your entire esophagus,
I did.
but it's a Mullen Ranch mug. Look at that.
I have to be manly while I'm drinking tea. I mean, because I couldn't have it one of those tea cups, right? So I had to have a coffee mug with swag.
But Markwayne, I'm sitting here drinking out of this wonderful Undaunted.Life, simple modern jug, of water, this big thing. Why don't I have a Mullen Ranch mug? Like, what's the deal? You've got my address. You can send me a care package.
I got it. I'll get you. Would you like a vest too? Because you see me in a vest. I wear those Mullen vests too.
Hey, I didn't want to ask, but yes. And if you have any Mullen Ranch hats as well, and I don't mean like ball caps. I mean, I want a cowboy hat, like I'm working on the ranch.
Yeah, those things get pretty expensive. You're worth a lot, but I don't know about that.
Markwayne, I'm just saying, like, you can find money anywhere. Just go into random rooms in the United States Senate. I'm sure there's just wall to wall money. But yeah, I'm a 7.5. Okay, so let's get something that looks good. I want to look like I just walked right off the set of Yellowstone. Does that work?
Is 7.5 oval or round?
I don't know. Like, whenever I put on a baseball hat, it says 7.5 on the inside.
Have a 7.5. There's no way that mug is a 7.5. You'd have
it's 7.5.
No way. No, turn
100%.
Turn sideways. That is not a 7.5 cowboy hat.
It's a 7.5, brother.
You do not have that big of a head. There's no way.
I 100%. Hey, you think that's a big? There's a guy that I train with at the Forge. What's that?
What's your ring size?
I have no idea. This is like a plastic ring like that I got for like $8. So I don't know, like a 7 or an 8. I don't know. It's normal, but I will tell you. Hey, I will tell you this. I was trying to give a hat to a buddy of mine that trains at the Forge here in Edmond. He's got an 8.5 head. I've never even heard of such a thing. Like, and I've been around the guy a lot. I was like, oh, he's, big guy, kind of got a big head. But I'm telling you right now, I've got a 7.5. So can you make that happen for me? That's the only thing that the listeners want to know. Can you make a 7.5 cowboy hat appear for me? That's all.
I can make it. I can make it. You got a 7.5 head, and you wear a small vest.
Well, no. I will probably wear a large or an extra large vest. I'm 5'10", 195. Come on, man. Size 12 shoe. You want to bring me some boots too?
No way. You're an extra large. No way.
Okay, we'll go with a large, but I do wear a size 12 in shoe or in boot. And so if you want to send me some boots to go along with my hat so they match, I'm just telling you, man, why would I lie? What's my motivation to lie here?
There isn't. I just think it's like guys that say they're 6 foot are probably really 5'11".
Hey, I straight up told you I was 5'10", not like 5'9 3/4. I'm right at 5'10".
I know, but
it's okay.
You're 5'10". You have a 12 shoe.
Yep.
Which is ridiculous. And
I know.
And you have a 7.5 head. I mean,
dude,
nothing
on me makes sense.
Sorry for your mom.
Oh, dude, like nothing on me makes sense. And I'll tell you right now, and the audience may not even care about this, but my mom is like, she's been mad at me since birth because I have very broad shoulders as well. And I've had those since birth. And so you try to get these shoulders through a normal female pelvis. I'm just saying.
I did bring that conversation up. I regret it. I regret it really bad.
Hey, well, we can get off of this subject matter and get on to and maybe even more depressing subject matter or hilarious, one of the two. So this is the first time you and I have spoken since the unbelievable debate between Donald Trump and currently sort of President Joe Biden. And obviously it has been roundly panned by everyone as a disastrous performance. Whenever the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN and MSNBC can't come up with something positive to say about Joe Biden's performance, that it was an abject failure and disaster. And so this week, Markwayne, like this episode's coming out tomorrow, but we've been hearing a lot about his big boy press conference that he's got coming up. And we've got people coming out saying that he shouldn't run. And then we've got other people saying that he should. But at this point, Markwayne, if you don't think he's mentally capable to run for president, then I think it's 25th Amendment time, I believe, where it's like, hey, he's not fit to run the country now in this moment. So just tell me about when you were watching the debate, what was going through your head, and then, the fallout. What are your thoughts on that as well?
Well, so I was, President Trump called me the week of the debate and asked me if I'd come to Atlanta to actually be a surrogate for him. Do a media row afterward, do the whole, they call it the spin room. No one knows how these debates are going to go, right? And to be quite frank with you, Biden did cognitively very well at the State of the Union. I mean,
right.
But he was reading off the teleprompter.
Right.
And you could totally disagree with what he said, but he was actually cognitively there, and he was witty, and he was saying things. So no one expected it to go that bad. It went that bad. I mean, it was really terrible. 20 minutes into it, they started making a spin that he had a cold. They released it, right? He was already messing up on all types of numbers, and he started referring back to just Trump's being a liar. It was pretty bad. So when you start talking about what the Democrats are going to do, you could inject the 25th Amendment, right? But they've dug in. And back to the point they're digging in now, saying he's fine.
Right.
And you and I shared my theory. I thought there was a very good chance that they were going to replace him. I thought this was the whole reason. I mean, I went into depth about this. I think they still would like to replace him. The Democrat Party, wants to replace Joe Biden. The problem is Joe Biden, who is the president of the United States, doesn't want to step down. Right. It could be because of Jill. It could be, there's a whole lot of reasons. I mean, Jill's ex-husband came out like 2 days after the debate and said the only reason why he's in is because of Jill, and Jill's the one that's making him do it. He said, I know because I was married to the lady. I don't know. But either way, they're there. And so at this point, if they try to change him, if they don't inject the 25th Amendment and remove him from office, not remove him from the ballot, but remove him from office, then what they're doing, the same party that says they're all about democracy, are saying that the 14,500,000 Democrats that voted for him in the primary to make him their president nominee for the Democrat Party doesn't matter. So they're not about democracy. They're about appointment, about appointing somebody. So I don't think at this point they can remove him from the ballot unless they remove him from office. I think they have to do both. And I don't believe they will do that at this point.
Hey guys, real quick. Here recently, one of my family members was telling me about how they partnered with another family and they bought some beef from this local cattle producer. And when they got the beef, it was unbelievably terrible. And I can tell you this from experience because they made me some beef ribs from that animal and they were terrible. And they even gave me some steaks and some ground and it was basically inedible. I couldn't believe how bad it was. And they ended up finding out that the person killed an old bull or something like that, and just the meat was old and tough and awful. And that's just what happens when you don't have a quality cattle operation that you can trust to give you a quality beef product on the back end. And that's, guys, why I want to introduce you to the official beef delivery partner of Undaunted.Life, my friends at Primal Beef. So Primal Beef is a cattle operation owned and operated by Sean Glass. He's a retired Navy SEAL that has partnered with Jocko Willing to launch Primal Beef. So what makes Primal Beef different from some of these other cattle operations where you're going to end up getting bad beef? This operation is all American Black Angus cattle. The beef comes from one farm, and that's in Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. The beef is all natural, no hormones ever, no mRNA ever, no vaccines ever. And after slaughter, this is a big deal. The beef is dry aged, and then it's hand cut by artisan butchers and then flash frozen to ensure that it maintains tenderness, marbling, and flavor. And here's another great thing about it. For every box sold, Primal Beef donates meat directly to a member of America's Special Operations Forces through the C4 Foundation. So you can take pride knowing that your purchase will help to put literal food on the table for America's finest warriors. If you're not salivating yet, it's probably because you're a communist. Don't be a communist. Try Primal Beef out today by going to www.primalbeef.com. That's primalbeef.com. Use the promo code Kyle, that's my first name, to get 10% off of your order. The great thing about that promo code is you can stack that on other deals as well and get all this money off. Again, that's primalbeef.com, promo code Kyle, that's Kyle, to get 10% off your order.
One, I've also heard that obviously, if he were to step down, it would be Kamala running, that all of the money that has been raised for the Biden-Harris ticket can't just be transferred over to a, Hakeem Jeffries or a Michelle Obama or a Gavin Newsom or something like that. Is that correct?
Say that again.
So what I heard is all the money that has been donated to Biden-Harris can't be just like transferred over to another Democrat.
Well, it's not completely accurate because the money could be transferred to a PAC.
Okay.
So it couldn't be. It wouldn't be transferred to say the Michelle Obama. I'm just using that example. I'd say Hakeem Jeffries is more likely, but I'd say if Hakeem Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffrey for president, it couldn't be put to a campaign account. Most campaigns at that high level are actually more of the money comes in from PAC. So they could give all the money to the DNC, Democrat National Conference, right? They could give every bit of it, or National Committee. They could give every bit of it to the DNC, and the DNC could just run the ads for President Trump, or for president, or their president nominee. I mean, or they could just run it against President Trump, for that matter. So the money would still be used in the Democrat campaign. It wouldn't be sent back. What would happen is they would have to write a letter to all the donors and say, hey, we're no longer in the race. You gave the race for the general. The primary's already over, so all the money left over for the primary could be used however you want to. But we got money left over for the general. Would you like this to be donated to the DNC? I promise you, everybody that wrote Joe Biden a presidential contribution would say yes, give the money to the DNC.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. Again, this seems like a big week, but it seemed
I don't
like
think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it, Kyle. I think the only way they do it is they have to put in the 25th Amendment. In fact, President Trump is kind of, if you listen to him right now, he's kind of saying the same thing, because he's actually calling for them to remove him from office, because they know they won't do it. So he's saying remove him from office. Don't just remove him from the ticket, remove him from the office, because he's cognitively not able to serve.
So do you think they'll do a second debate?
I've actually suggest, not that my opinion matters to the president, but I actually suggested that they doesn't do it, and because there's no upside for him doing it. It was such a bad debate. There was no upside for it. It can't get any better.
Yeah.
For Trump. And so debates, sometimes the first one has the biggest impact.
Right.
The second one, you have to go into the second debate with the idea of do no harm, because you're not going to win any votes. You just don't want to lose any votes. So you have more to lose than you to gain. You will not gain anything he will not gain anything on the second debate. He can only lose off the second debate. So I would say for Trump, no. For the Biden team, I think it's rolling the dice, right? Do they wait until September, or whenever the next debate is? I think it's September, and then say, let's have another shot at it. Listen, if he's not healthy now, he's not going to be healthy in September, and then they're going to run out of excuses. They can't go in there and say he was fatigued because of international travel. They can't go out there and say he was fatigued because he had a cold. They can't go out there and say he wasn't well rested. I mean, whatever their excuse is, they can't do that again. So I don't think there will be a second debate, but I don't know that for sure. No one said that. I just think it's both sides. It's too risky for them to do one.
Well, we'll just have to see. But next time, might I suggest to the Democrats, give him, like, I don't know, methamphetamine or just something that'll really get him a little bit better than he was last time. Let's at least have some fun with it. But, you didn't say yes to that. That was my suggestion to anybody just listening to this out there. Now, it was either last month or a couple of months ago. We talked about Trump's potential VP picks. There was a report that came out this morning that said the short list is now down to 3 people. That is Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, and then Governor of North Dakota Doug Burgum. Now, you had talked about before, it's like, look, no one's going to be able to get this list. Vegas is not going to be able to get it right and all that. I will say that of those 3 names, I don't think any of them necessarily help Trump very much, but they also don't hurt him very much. I think Doug Burgum would be the most milquetoast vanilla of all of them. But even Marco Rubio, that's who I had originally supported for the 2016 nomination for the Republican side of the ticket. So that would be interesting. Obviously, he would have to change his residence out of Florida, and that puts some stuff in line with that. But what is your read right now on who he's going to pick as VP? Is he going to wait all the way until the convention to announce it at the convention? What do you know?
I believe now he's going to probably announce it at the convention. He had a pick, and it changed. So he's changed drastically in 6 weeks. I'd say 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago, I was almost certain he was going to pick a VP. In fact, the names that are on this list right now were just beginning to circulate. The names that were on the short list at Christmas all the way up until 2 months ago was really the top list was Tulsi Gabbard, Elise Stefanik, Sarah Huckabee, Governor Sarah Huckabee, and then the only guy on that was really Tim Scott. And that list is completely changed now. And he had a pick to the point where this week we were supposed to be doing a fundraiser for the VP in Oklahoma. After the debate, the numbers changed, and I haven't talked to the president about it because I haven't asked the question. I made the assumption that the VP pick to who he was going to pick after or before the debate changed after the debate. And I don't know. I don't know who that final person will be standing. But considering the convention's next week, I mean, he can announce it Sunday if he wanted to. But I think he gets a lot of splash for announcing it at the convention. I think people know. The media will start leaking here really quick on who that person is going to be prior to the actual announcement. So we'll know before he actually announces it.
Okay. He's got a flair for the dramatic, so it would make sense if he did the full announcement like he has, them come out at the convention and things like that. So another thing that's going down in D.C. this week is we've had, we got Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine in town. Biden managed to speak for 15 minutes straight about the potential Ukraine joining NATO and different things like that. There are a lot of people that are very concerned about Ukraine joining NATO, and then there's seemingly a lot of people as well that are like, no, it makes perfect sense to join NATO. Everyone's worried about the provocation that would cause for Putin and Russia with them having a NATO member right on their borders, right on their eastern border. What's your read of the situation right now about the likelihood of Ukraine actually becoming a full-fledged member of NATO?
I think unlikely. Keep in mind if they become a full-fledged member of NATO right now, that puts a lot of countries at war with Russia.
Exactly.
Immediately. So I think it's very unlikely that to happen because if we bring them into NATO, that's the same thing as us declaring war on Russia. Now, you got to think about that. And same thing with all the other NATO allies. And maybe I'm speaking too far out, but that's part of the NATO pact. Mm-hmm. If we're all there together, if someone invades you and fighting you, then we're there together. And regardless if it's a NATO ally that is the aggressor, if a NATO member invades a NATO member, we go after the one that invaded the NATO member, not the one that was trying to defend themselves. I mean, so I'm paraphrasing all this.
Right.
So I think it would be very tough for them to be a NATO member while they're in the fight. I think if this thing gets, if the conflict or the war, it goes away, I think there's a way for Ukraine to get there and after the war's over. But I think it's hard for them to do it now.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense because right now, everyone's still concerned about the amount of money that's flowing through to them right now. But certainly if you provoke Russia more by doing that right now in the middle of a conflict, that could have really bad downstream consequences for the United States.
Yeah. And I want to put this back in their perspective too. I'm not, I'm involved in a lot in foreign affairs. And so I have to deal with this constantly. I can't understate this statement. I mean, I can't overstate. I can't overstate this statement. If Russia prevails in Ukraine, we will be in a fight with Russia. It'll kick off a large-scale war. There's several things that people don't realize that Ukraine has. One, Ukraine is a major food supplier to that entire region. Two, Ukraine has the second largest gas supply energy, which gas means energy, gas supply in Europe. The only one larger than them is Russia. Third, Ukraine has arguably $3 trillion, between 1.5 and $3 trillion worth of rare earth minerals underneath their feet. Rare earth minerals means chips, it means high tech, means batteries, means everything we fight wars with. And the person that controls the other three large deposits is China. So now you have China and Russia that's controlling the four largest rare earth mineral supplies in the world. Huge issue. And the fight doesn't stop in Ukraine. No one, and this is why everybody, all their bordering states are real concerned about this. No one thinks that Russia will stop there. They absolutely, positively will not. So we have choices inside the United States because it will come to us because we're a world economy. I don't care what people say. We're not an isolationist country, and we haven't been an isolationist country. So it will come to us and it will affect us. And when it starts affecting us, then we will have to make a decision on what we're going to do. So we either have a choice that we fight with finances or we fight with blood. Those are our choices right now. And turning our head and doing nothing doesn't, the outcome is just ignoring a problem that you're going to deal with at some point. I'm proactive, not reactive. And so unfortunately, we have to be involved in this regardless of what the politics is behind it and what people think about it. As long as that war is going on, we have to be somewhat involved. Now, would that fight taken place if Trump was in office? No. I'm 1,000% that fight would not have taken place if Trump was in office. But that's not the scenario we have. Hopefully, this time next year, Ukraine, the topic of Ukraine is irrelevant because the war's over, because Trump gets in and he has some really tough conversations that Biden can't have and Trump can.
Yeah, so that'll be something to see. I think the world would look completely different if the 2020 election had gone the way of the Republican candidate. But Mark Wayne, we are out of time here, but I do just want to ask you for a few things here at the very end. And these are all small things, okay? But just a reminder in case you had forgotten. Mullen Ranch mug, Mullen Ranch
Check.
vest, size large. Yeah, Mullen
Size
Ranch
large.
vest, size large.
You have female large.
No. I mean, I have an impressive chest, but maybe not that impressive. Number 3, 7.5 cowboy hat. This isn't a bad thing. And number 4, because those first 3, the next time I see you on camera, I've already worn a top hat and a tuxedo. So I need to be wearing the ranch vest with the mug and the hat. It just has to happen. Our audience needs it. But then the 4th thing, and this is perhaps optional, I will wear the exact same getup and hold the same mug when you get me an interview with Trump. And so I'll do the exact same thing. It can be a short one. It can be like a 5 to 10 minute long thing. I'll even go out to Mar-a-Lago. That's no big deal. I'll even play golf. I haven't done that in 15 years, and I'd probably still be better than Joe Biden. So those 4 things, those are all super easy to pull off, right?
Yep. 1 and 2, I think I can take care of. 3, we'll have to negotiate on. And 4, we will see.
Well, I'm not in Congress, but I can negotiate with the best of them, okay? I'll tell you what, right now, I come from a long line of potato farmers back in my Irish days, and so we didn't just give those things away. We had to barter with people so that we could continue to survive. But hey, is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we get you out of here?
No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, see you next time.
All right, see ya.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. That's info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.Undaunted.Life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.